Does everyone hear me?
Good morning, Jason sir. I am Parth Latia, the lead from Surat for NASA Space Challenge. We will be starting the meet shortly within next 5 minutes.
Wonderful. No worries. In the meantime, should I put my slides up, or we can leave it up? No rush. No rush.
No, it's fine. We'll be introducing you to the
Oh,
participants as well. So after that, you can share your screen.
wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So let's begin this session without any further more delays. New participants will be joining soon and they'll continue the session as soon as they join, right? So, very good and warm evening to everyone. And to Jason sir, it's a good morning there. It is a wonderful, it is wonderful to welcome you all back to the session three of NASA Space Apps Challenge 2025 Surat Bootcamp. After two exciting sessions, today we would continue our journey with yet another powerful topic that pushes you to think about the future of space innovation. It is my privilege to introduce our distinguished speaker for today, Mr. Jason McCord. He is the CEO and founder of Stardust, a company at the forefront of building communities, driving innovation, and advancing accessibility in the global space industry. Jason has dedicated his career to making decentralizing opportunities, fostering collaborations between startups, organizations, and individuals worldwide. With vast international experience, Jason has contributed to building ecosystems that connect entrepreneurs, researchers, and enthusiasts with real world space projects. His work focuses not only on technology and businesses, but also on creating sustainable models for the space economy that can impact humanity at large. He has been a keynote speaker and a mentor at multiple global forums where he inspires the next generation of space innovators. Today, he will be leading us into an insightful session on decentralizing space, helping us understanding how innovative entrepreneurship and community-driven initiatives are reshaping the future of space exploration and development. On behalf of the organizing team, I extend a very warm welcome to you, sir. We are honored to have you with us and look forward to learning from your knowledge and experience.
Thank you so much, Parth.
Yeah.
I really appreciate. Very glad to be here this morning and excited to meet you all. Um, shall I share my slides right now?
Yes, you can share your slides right now. I'll just stop this here.
No worries.
Yeah.
1 second, my friend. Just want to make sure that pull up the right screen. You know how it is, many tabs. Let's see. This one. Back. Can anyone see?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Perfect. So I'll start. Very grateful to meet all of you wonderful folks that are doing the NASA Space Apps Bootcamp this week. I know it's been a crazy prep for all this, and I want to specifically thank the organizers for making this possible for all of you because, you know, this is not something that's an easy feat. So kudos to you, Parth, and your team. Really, this is also part, believe it or not, NASA Space Apps is also part of decentralizing space to some degree because it brings these wonderful opportunities to all the youth to have this chance and this opportunity to get involved in the space sector. So without further ado, my name is Jason Michaud, as Parth put it. It gives me too much credit, but I'm from a very, very small village with less than 900 people in Northern Ontario. Is if anyone's familiar with Canada, just to give you an idea. Oops, will my technology is not complying with me. There you go. A little bit into the details of how I got to where I am and why we are aiming at decentralizing space and what is the future of space holds and how you can participate in this. So as I said, I come from a small little village with lumberjacks in forestry, if anyone's familiar with that. And growing up in this village with less than 900 people, the closest city was Tree. I was growing up, it was the mining sector or forestry. And as a youth, I never had the opportunity to aspire to space because, you know, we could see the northern lights, we could see the stars all the time, but no one told us we could be part of it. If we would say anything like this, or an astronaut, or just work in anything that was even technology remote, we were told that this is not possible. You're never going to achieve that, because in almost 500 years, try to do this, you're not going to have. My family and other folks that I want to start a business, they told me, so I said, challenge. The wonderful thing is, you got to remember, when I'm going to go through this, is that you have to, when I'm going to go through this, is that you have to be the change makers, that you want to see in the future. So if you want in India or anywhere else in the world to see a change in your global economy or your economy in space, and to have that participation, you got to be that spark in your community. And that's why we started the Stardust Odyssey in our Stardust initiative. And that's why we started the Stardust Odyssey in our Stardust initiatives, and talking to youths all around the world. Because growing up, as I said, no one came to talk to us about space in their schools. So we decided, if we're going to go and promote space education, to make sure that everyone has the tools all around the world. Over 175 ambassadors in more than 50 countries in the world, which we are supporting through Icky Martin and so much other partners that were mentioned. And we've engaged with over 100,000 students in the world. And a lot of people in the States or even Canada are wondering, like, why are you doing this? How did you do this? You know, we need to be that light in the dark for those youths and those that never had this opportunity. And I'm sure some of you, this is going to resonate close to home with you. And, you know, this stemmed as an idea when I met with my COO, Chanel Paul, in Dubai back in 2021, when I was asked to represent Canada on the global stage at the World Expo in Dubai, and And the one thing is, we were saying, like, how do we get to here, and how do we bring others to here? How do we get to here, and how do we bring others to here, so that they don't feel like they are left out in the opposite states. We wanted to create these they don't feel like they are left out in the opposite states. We wanted to create these all around the world, big or small, any background or whatnot. You felt world, big or small, any background or whatnot. You felt like you had a place at home. So I apologize for joining just from this apartment this morning. I am at the United Nations for this event that we're doing with the Kingdom tomorrow. But I will get into the whys and the whys and the whats and what we are doing. And I'll start with a little message that actually you'll be the first ones to see that we got the international space, and then I'll get into the presentation, and then we'll open it up afterwards for Q&A, questions, and just an open session, so that I love to engage with you all, and I want to make sure that we're doing this for you and not just for me at the end of the day, because that's the mission. So let me know if you hear the audio. If not, I'll reshare the screen. Is everything okay?
Yes, sir. It's okay.
Hello from the International Space Station. Up here, orbiting Earth every 90 minutes, we're reminded just how small and connected our world really is. To every student watching, you are the Stardust generation. The next explorers, scientists, engineers, and dreamers who will take humanity even further. So keep looking up, keep asking questions, and never stop imagining what's possible. From space, we welcome you to the Stardust Odyssey. Let the journey begin.
So just a little brief with NASA, basically, with the current commander that's on the ISS. You know, as I said, I don't come from a background of someone that studied to be a high-level scientist or anything like that. I actually went to school and studied in computer science as a system administrator, managing servers and stuff like that. And I never thought in a million years that I'd be in the space industry. And this is why it is so important to be up there and creating these opportunities. And I'm gonna skim over. I don't want to give you guys all the Lion King introduction, but just I worked with polar bears in the north. That's just to give you an idea where I'm at. And I did the IT. So I went from polar bears to the space industry, and this is just to show you in the mining sector, to show you that anything is possible for all of you that are watching today. And essentially, I did not think that the space sector was something that was achievable because the, um, the government did not support us when we would reach out. We had to use so many different measures, and we had to be very creative into what we were getting into. And when we had this opportunity to speak with MBRSC and the UAE Space Agency at the World Expo, it really resonated that there's so many people out there that are trying to do some great work, and they just don't have that support or the capabilities. So for that matter, we decided to take matters in our own hands and create the Stardust Odyssey platform and support other initiatives such as yours with the NASA space apps that are decentralizing space. When I'm saying decentralizing space, I mean a space for every youth around the world. So whether you are in Bogota or India or Egypt, you'd be able to work together on projects that are not getting limited because of ITAR restrictions or any political restrictions. Our goal is that with a decentralized platform, if everyone's familiar with blockchain, is that with a node, you are able to literally have a platform that keeps growing and that's able to provide from curriculums to a place where people can actually support each other from grassroots in projects where they're supporting each other's projects with funding or getting access to investments. And that is the future of space, because as we see, space is very shaky on many days. One day we are going to the moon, the next day we're not going to the moon. And the people that are the key players that are out there right now making the difference, like Firefly, iSpace, Rocket Lab, and different companies, or SpaceX for that matter, are not waiting on government anymore. Including ISRO, you're doing some wonderful work out in India. But not only that, there's also some companies like Delisha and whatnot that are doing some incredible stuff. But what we need to do is we need to be that spark from all around the world to see that change, and people need to start believing in themselves. I know it's very hard when you're coming from a place where no one believes in you. But our goal, especially at the United Nations that we're announcing tomorrow, actually, we are making it so that youths have a book and have a place to go to. And I don't want this to sound just as an infomercial for Stardust Odyssey. I want you to know that you are able to start a movement wherever you are around the world. And there is people out there that will support you and that will provide the resources that you need to get there. So I've talked just this year alone to over 25,000 people around the world, including in Egypt, 8,000 kids in 3 days. My mouth wanted to fall on the ground, but someone's got to go out there and do that. And that's what we're doing with Stardust Odyssey. We're not just saying, hey, invite me to your country. We're training the trainers. We are working with young folks like you guys to provide you the tools, whether it's speakers from Blue Origin, Lockheed Martin, FDA, SpaceX, or whatnot. So if you want to do an event like this is happening right now, we will help you, and it doesn't cost you nothing. We'll pair you with the right resources and the right people. We even have resources from getting VR headsets and different things like that. But it's the power of helping people rather than competing and just trying to destroy and seeing what your neighbor's doing. It's the power of people coming together and finding ways that we can have synergies so that we can uplift each other. Because for so long, we only think about the government, and I'm not saying this in a mean way, we only think about the government giving us a handout or anything like that to get in the space industry. But we have to start finding ways that we can co-depend on each other and work together so that we can make this happen. And this is the only way that we're going to thrive in space. It's going to be for humanity, by all humanity. And I want you guys to also know that, and this might be interesting for some of you, we've actually are crowdfunding with Lockheed a cube rail that's going to go to space, and we will have opportunities for challenges that will be allowing all our members to send a payload together into space. And we are sending a flag for all humanity on the Orion with the Artemis too. So those are things that we're doing at Stardust Odyssey, and they do not cost you anything. And our goal is really to support you guys, just like the NASA Space Apps is doing right now with this wonderful team. And you have other examples. If you're familiar with Yuri's Night, so Yuri's Night it celebrates the first astronauts that went to space, Yuri Gagarin. And essentially, this moment no one thought was possible is being shared all around the world once a year. And that's when we're talking about decentralizing it. We're talking about creating space stations that are no longer like the International Space Station, but they're owned by companies and people that are coming together, such as Asgardia, for an example. So there's nothing stopping you all from being part of moments like this, because this is the future. If you are familiar, by 2036, space is going to be the largest sector on Earth. That means every areas of the Earth is going to be part of space. I can name you so many companies that are using space technologies right now, and they don't realize it. Even companies like Uber, for an example. How do they use the tracking, the maps, and everything? That's all space technologies with satellites. So the future is very beautiful, but we have to be the ones that create it. So I apologize for the loud noise. I've gone in the space sector because of mental health. So there was this astronaut called Scott Kelly, which I've met before in person, you'll see afterwards, that talked about the biggest challenge for space industry was mental health. When that happened, that gave me a spark, because I studied in haptic feedback and virtual reality during my college days. And I thought, hey, why don't we use this technology to help astronauts with our team? If we figured a solution together so that an astronaut can hug their loved ones. So I got the opportunity to fly in zero gravity, Martian and lunar, more than 4 times to test out these technologies. But then it was like, okay, where do we go from there? There's nobody out there and whatnot. That's when we decided to bring these teachings everywhere. And obviously you can laugh at me. I'm doing like the Kung Fu Panda, because it's very hard up there just to navigate yourself, just to try to float and get ready. But my goal is that every youth that wants to be in the space industry has the opportunity to experience things like this in the future. So just a little bit of humor, because humor is part of it, and it's about our humanity going up to space. Because at the end of the day, if we do not have humor, we will destroy our humanity. And I have to remind everyone that going to space is not only about being the best and brightest, but it's about empathy and working together, and people that are able to support each other. And this is why decentralization with other nations is so important, and learning about each other's cultures and having fun while doing it. So the astronaut that I was talking to you about, Scott Kelly, has a twin brother called Mark Kelly. And Mark Kelly actually sent him a gorilla suit, thinking it was pretty funny. I don't know if any one of you heard this story before, but they sent a gorilla suit into the International Space Station and did not tell any of their comrades, whether it was the Russians, the Japanese, or anything like that. And they did chase them around the ISS.
Astronaut Scott Kelly is approaching the end of his year-long mission in space.
But apparently, all that time in orbit can make even the most experienced astronaut go a little bananas. Take a look here. Kelly's twin brother, Mark, posted this video on his Twitter account yesterday of someone in a gorilla suit bursting out of a bag on the ISS. Mark apparently sent the gift to his brother as a gag.
So it's, you gotta learn that it's going to change in so many ways. But that being said, I will get into the technologies and the stuff that will be impacting and how we're going to decentralize. I'm just going to share one more video. I don't want to bore you guys to that. And then I'll get into the technologies that are going to make it happen and give you ideas for your boot camp and your challenges that can help solve these things, because we have most of the technologies, and the brightest people are in this room today, well, in this virtual room, that can actually make an impact for this to happen. So I will share this, and then after that, we'll get into the fun stuff and questions and whatnot, so that I can make sure to support you all and whatnot.
We are going. The history of this agency is marked with broken barriers, once viewed as impossible, with science fiction turned reality, with innovations that have spun industries all their own, and with demonstrations of peace for all humankind.
We soar in the skies of our home planet. We maintain a human presence just outside of gravity, and we touch points all across the solar system and beyond. We're going back to the moon, and this is why.
The moon is a treasure trove of science.
It holds opportunities for us to make discoveries about our home planet, about our sun,
and about our solar system.
The wealth of knowledge to be gleaned from the moon will inspire a new generation of thought and action.
Without fail, every major program and mission NASA has invested in has led to technologies and capabilities that have shaped our culture.
The breakthroughs of the Artemis era will define our generation and the generations to follow.
The tens of thousands of jobs associated with propelling us to the moon today are just the beginning of a lunar economy that will see hundreds of thousands of new jobs develop around the world.
This is not an ambition of one entity or one country. The exploration of the moon is a shared effort,
woven together by a desire for the greater good.
Why the moon? Because the missions of tomorrow will be sparked by the accomplishments of the Artemis generation today.
because the ambition to go has already begun.
And because Mars is calling. We need to learn what it takes to establish a community on another cosmic shore. So let's camp close before pushing out.
And so, we go to the moon now, not as a series of isolated missions, but to build a community on and around the moon capable of proving how to live on other worlds.
We'll use the lessons from more than 50 years of peaceful exploration to send a new generation to the lunar surface to stay.
We will anchor our efforts on the lunar South Pole to establish the Artemis Base Camp,
positioning us for long-term science and exploration of the lunar surface.
We will prove what it takes to assemble a complex ship in deep space.
We will perfect descending down to and returning from a distant surface.
We will learn how humans can survive and thrive in a partial gravity environment.
With improved spacesuit designs, mobile habitats, and with reconnaissance robots pre-positioning and relocating supplies.
We will learn how to utilize the resources we find on these other worlds, starting with finding water ice and purifying it to drinkable water.
And refining that into hydrogen for fuel and oxygen to breathe.
We will establish fission power plants on the surface of the moon, capable of supporting a growing community of efforts.
And we will expand the logistics supply chain
to enable commercial and international partners
to resupply and refuel deep space outposts.
None of this is simple or easy, but nothing in our history ever has been.
The Eagle has landed. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
This kind of continuous lunar presence is a natural extension of all that we've learned in low Earth orbit. And what we will accomplish there will ensure the monumental missions to Mars are within reach. As we ready the launch of the first Artemis mission, and as commercial companies ready their lunar landers for the first private payload deliveries, We have already begun to take the next step.
So in that video, there's so many things that are happening in space that are not even glossed in that video. Or to fly a commercial space station, I've been following. There's been several lunar landers going to the surface. They're building a nuclear. I've been following. There's been several lunar landers going to the surface. They're building a nuclear. We're not talking about that. We'll need more. We're not talking about that. More than 500 jobs, which is going to spin off over 1,000 jobs. So there's going to be a lot of engineering and space trades that are going to be anywhere from welding and machining and whatnot. And ultimately, the goal is to build a permanent base, and you're going to be seeing this in the next couple of years between many nations, whether it's China, the US, Russia, or whatnot. They're going to start sending people for permanent presence since they're retiring the ISS by 2030. And these people are going to need sustainable efforts that are going to be out there. So it's no longer going to be just that we're the typical background. They're going to need people that can service these nuclear equipment, but people that can service the solar arrays that are, but people that can service the solar arrays that are going to be there in the satellites. They're also going to make sure to build the next rockets on the surface of the moon and refine also the resources there. So to build a rocket, it takes over 5,000 people on Earth. So the reason they're going to need at least 1,000 people and robots to do is because leaving the Earth's orbit is what's the biggest cost from being payload and stuff like that into space. The moon, you barely have any gravity, so you could literally use a rail to launch a rocket from the surface of the moon or a spaceship, because at that point you're not fighting the Earth's gravity. So anyone could create a spaceship with solar cells. So with that in mind, the future is thousands of individuals living and thriving in space and going from one orbit to another. They might not be able to land on the surface of the Earth from space, but they will be able to provide those logistics. We'll need food. This food will be a lot more affordable if it's made in space rather than sending it from Earth. And if we're able to utilize anything from the asteroid belts or anything, and I realize this sounds like sci-fi, but it's quite soon with the new space race. And the only way we can make this movement happen is with people working together and making it happen and getting our heads together. So this is why we are doing our main flagship event in December in Dubai, where we will be coming together with people such as you to come up with challenges that we hold our partners accountable for, but also our nation accountable, so that we create these challenges for an example, by 2030, if we want to have a base on the surface of the moon, all humanity can make it happen. We don't need to wait on any government. It's just people coming together, people making things. Because if you look at nations or anything like that were done in the past, it was people coming together. So, a small glimpse. These are students in Canada that had nowhere to launch. They were the first ones to launch a hybrid rocket in the history of Canada that went up to like 70,000 feet in the north. Everyone said it was not possible. The government said it was not possible. Well, we convinced them to come launch in northern Canada, in the middle of nowhere with a lot of trees. And, you know, there was no policies for space launches and stuff like that. But we made it happen in the traditional territories of Matagami First Nation. And that, if that's not inspiring, I mean, you can do anything you set your mind to, but it's going to be not an easy battle. It's always going to be uphill, because there's always going to be challenges and people telling you it's not possible. But what you need to do is find your people, the space industry, the people that will lift you up, the people that will make you part of their family, the people that will say, hey, the impossible is not impossible. People that you always want to surround yourself with people that are putting themselves high up and that are saying, hey, this is not impossible. You might think it's crazy. It's not. And that will say, hey, your idea is not stupid. It's just how we execute it and finding ways together. It's all about people power that will create anything from blockchain. And the crypto economy in space, from AI or any vectors of sectors that you're thinking about in space. And I believe that even if your group came together with some wonderful ideas, there's going to be others that are going to be very keen to help you out and support you. So I'm very eager to see what you're all going to come up with during your challenges. And of course, you do not feel, don't feel like the hesitation to contact us or the organizers. I don't want to go over you guys. But I want to also add that we will be doing an event in India at the beginning of January. More details are going to be coming up, but I'll be coming in person as well. So the fact of the matter remains that you have to be the change makers that you want to see in this world. And that's the way of the future. It's the way of creating this and not waiting, not saying, hey, when is something going to happen for us? You have to take matters in your own hands and decide to shape the future that you want to see. So I'm going to stop sharing my slides because I know we only have about 20 minutes left. And I want, if it's okay with the organizers, to take any questions you might have and anything that you might want to add and whatnot, because this is about you guys. This is about creating your future.
Yeah, Jason, it's completely fine. We can have a question answer session. The participants can freely ask the questions in the chat. And it's like, if the session gets a bit longer, we have no issues. We can extend 10 to 15 minutes after.
That's good. Thank you so much. How do you see decentralized technologies like blockchain, federated system, or DAO shaping the future of space exploration? I think that it's going to, if you get a chance, I will recommend this very good book that I do to everyone. There's two of them. I'll type them. And you should get this guy as a speaker in the future. He made this very good near 5 books called Delta V and Critical Mass. In Delta V, where they went in, mined the first asteroid and brought the resources near the moon and stuff like that. And it's all nations coming together and working it. But then what they did is they backed a crypto in space that is backed by these resources, but they are exchanging them for carbon credits on Earth, where they'll give you their crypto if you clean something on Earth, basically like making sure that a landfill is all clean, or making sure that we are not polluting as much as we said should, or developing carbon capture technologies. And then that is in turn backed by these resources that are in space and sent back to Earth. Or these resources end up being traded for other currencies around the world. So this will be helping up a lot of developing nations around the Earth, especially the smaller countries or those that never had the opportunities. So crypto being decentralized in space and Earth makes it a lot more hard to destroy, especially if it comes as all humanity coming together, because, you can't just shut down all the servers. If you're familiar with blockchain, you can't just shut down 1 million people overnight that are so imagine that, but in space, then it becomes really, really hard to get to that area. So it is really going to change in that way. Could decentralized data sharing platform help improve? Definitely. I think to data sharing platforms that are decentralized, because then you have government to introduce it to another government. And I am the perfect example. When I was a kid, 14 years old, my family said, I didn't fit in with all the kids. I didn't go fishing or hunting all the time in my small little village. But when internet came on, I was lurking on forums, and we're talking about the early 2000s when the internet was just in the late 90s, when the internet was just starting to grow really fast. When people said the internet's never going to take, we're just going to read newspapers and stuff like that, and it's just a fad, the internet, right? So the internet was one of these things that people said is never going to take off, and now lo and behold, we're talking right now because of the internet and space technologies. So I lurked on forums a lot when people said don't talk to each other and stuff like that, and I was trying to make video games like any kid wanted to do at that age. I guess I played a lot of video games, and ultimately that allowed me to connect with people on forums and stuff like that. But now with new platforms and stuff like that, it makes it even more possible to decentralize and democratically create these opportunities, so that even if you are in the smallest of the nation, as long as you have access to an internet, which is not always the case, but as long as you have access to connectivity, you can be part of these growing programs around the world and have 20 PhDs to work. You don't need to work to wait to have an invitation to come to the US or anything like that. You're able to get working on high-level projects from the beginning. And, I'll tell you a story that I always say, and a lot of people, I'm the type of CEO that likes to talk to everyone. So it doesn't matter who you are. I believe that everyone has a place at the table and has an opinion that could be shared. And if anyone's familiar with the company Nintendo, the CEO of Nintendo, at the time, the janitor approached him and said, "Hey, I have an idea. I want to create the Game Boy." And most people would have ignored the janitor's request, right? And now the Game Boy became a multi-billion-dollar selling device for Nintendo. Maybe I don't have the exact numbers, but it became a huge success. And that is why we cannot discount everyone based just on credentials and stuff like that. And I know if my CEO, Shinal Paul, would be here, he's originally from India, he would be saying, we are told to be doctors or whatnot. We are told not to pursue our dreams. It doesn't mean that even if you're pursuing as a doctor or an engineer that you cannot join the space industry. There's an avenue for everyone in the space industry, and you can spin it off as a space thing. Is, for an example, if any of you are in marketing, space has a huge marketing problem. No one talks about space. No one's sharing what space is doing as much as they used to in the Apollo era. So I'll get to what role do you see open source hardware and software? Big time. So if you look at why companies like SpaceX and whatnot were able to accelerate their development and stuff like that, they started using modern parts rather than technologies from the 50s. They started using tablets and these types of components to build their hardware rather than using old Atari hardware to launch their satellites and stuff like that, which made it so much more affordable. And you have companies like Raspberry Pi that you can use when you're launching stratospheric balloons. I have a photo where we use Raspberry Pis to do that. And, there's so many software with Linux, and NASA also making their patents and their technologies available to everyone going forward, which is making it so much more easy for people to come together. And I think it's super important with open source. Being a Linux guru growing up and spending a lot of time tweaking with Arch Linux and CentOS and whatnot, I know that there's a huge value in that because I grew up somewhere where we didn't have the money to buy the latest Windows operating system and whatnot. I was on Windows 98 Special Edition for a number of years till I could even get to Windows XP, and then I went straight to Vista. And I spent many years on dial-up, which was horrendous if you don't know what that was back in the day. But dial-up, basically, someone pick up the phone and the internet would be disconnected. So we didn't have the money to afford software, so open source made it so much easier for people to remove those barriers. And there's so many different open source hardware and software that are being created today. And I encourage you to get involved in these if you get the chance. Because again, the good karma you put out brings back good karma, right? So that's a very, very good question, and I apologize if I cannot answer that question. My CEO would be able to answer it, but I will make sure to get back to you guys on that one. What's my view on the synthetic aperture radar system? So I'll tell you one thing. In the space industry, it's so vast and vague that you cannot learn everything and know everything. So I do apologize for not knowing the synthetic aperture radar system, but I will look into it and get back to you, Rochelle, regarding this. And I do apologize. So with evolving space technologies and decentralization of space, what are your views on debris accumulating in LEO? So that's a very good question. In low Earth orbit, there's so much debris there. It's absolutely insane. The millions of debris that are there since we started the space program. Any little thing could cause a paradox where we wouldn't be able to go to space for a number of years. This is why we need to start cleaning up our own orbit. Otherwise, we're going to start looking like one of the belt planets where we have our own belt around the Earth, which is not a good thing either. I mean, it could look kind of cute from space, but there's wonderful companies in Japan that are taking initiatives in their own hands and creating technologies to clean the low Earth orbit. What I think would be very interesting is if people would come up with solutions to take these low Earth orbits, satellite debris, and anything like that, and recycle the materials rather than sending them to Earth, and then using places like VAS or Astro, I believe it's Astroscale, that are working on forges, Astroforge, that are working on facilities to be able to recycle, because again, resources, once we begin to not only be an earth-faring civilization, but a civilization of earthlings that goes beyond, we will need these resources in order to build new things. And a lot of times they're like, I'll just burn it. You know, they don't care about that on Earth. But if we're able to utilize what's already up there, we can save so much money rather than sending the trillions of dollars of payload up there. Because again, the fuel is the biggest challenge. So I really think that we need to make sure that we don't bring our littering problems into space in the Earth's orbit. But there's a solution, and I think it would be great if some of you come up with ideas for these things. So a solution on compulsory to build a mobile app, or can you develop a website web-based solution? So I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question. So if it's compulsory to build a mobile app, or can we develop a web? Okay, so you're asking regarding developing an app. Because there's actually, I think it's called Google Fire or something like that. I could be mistaken on the name, but there's a program where you can actually develop a website that becomes an app. And I believe Mozilla Firefox has a platform also for this, where you develop a website and it develops an application running on HTML5 and Web3. But I'm not sure of the context. Is it part of the challenges part, developing a mobile app?
No, exactly. It is like they have to submit a solution in some innovative way. So, like, it is a call from there, and that what would be better for them to work. So.
Okay. Well, you can definitely develop mobile apps using web-based solutions nowadays, and AI. If any of you are familiar with using like ChatGPT or different things like that, it will enhance your code and make you vibe code. They call it in the US and Canada now, and it will make it a lot quicker and efficient for you to code it and prepare it. And these are the tools that we have in the future, and they're not going away. Just like when the internet came, people were saying, I'm not going to use the internet. That's cheating. You know, I'm going to write the old fashioned way. And, you know, you got to adapt to the times that you're going in. So definitely be creative. I think these challenges are about being creative and finding new ways. And there's so many new ways to leverage. I created a calculator in less than 10 seconds with AI last time for a website, just for a friend that I was helping out. So yeah, the nuclear facilities on the lunar surface. So they're doing these facilities on the surface to actually power the lunar economy to energy, because you have your lunar night and you have your lunar days. So what happens is after 14 days, you have pure nightfall. And what happens is it gets so cold, you got to keep everything heated, and solar panels are not thriving as well as they would. And I believe they're also doing it for research for collecting helium tree, because with helium tree, if you'd be able to refine it directly out there, and this is just theoretical, but if you'd be able to refine it up there, you'd be able to send it to the Earth. And I believe it was, I don't know the exact number, but I believe 25 tons of helium tree can power most countries for years, or at least a year minimum, which is abundant on the surface of the moon because of the way the moon was shielding us from the sun. Without atmosphere, it's been like constantly hit. But we need power solutions, and solar is not the most efficient all the time on the moon, especially with the lunar dust and stuff getting into the hardware and the electrical frying when it comes to the very cold. So that's why they're going to the South Pole, to be kind of like in that border where it's like the twilight zone almost. For people who's interested in this field, what are your most critical skills they should focus on developing? I would say don't be afraid to be rejected, and don't be afraid to ask. Because I would say so many times when I talk to wonderful engineers, they're afraid to ask. They think, this is outside the realm of possibility, or they get an idea, but they're afraid to be ridiculed. The worst you'll get is a no. And, the most brilliant minds are like from our history, for any of your projects, try to find also ways to be creative in the way of your approach. Sometimes don't ask for money, but ask for in-kind. If you're looking for hardware or anything like that, we would really like to have your hardware so that we can test it out. We can bring it back afterwards, but we'll give you guys a shout out or whatnot. Sometimes the hardware than money. So these are kind of the things on the business side, I would say. But on the other sides, I think if they come from a different place. So how is it possible to share that power on Earth? Like what tech can be useful? Or like helium tree, they would have to refine it in space, which means thousands of jobs, and then sending them in capsules, kind of like what they're doing with the capsules that are coming back. Some version, it'd be just literally a capsule that'd be coming back with refined. That is the nice thing with helium tree, if I'm not mistaken, it's not it's not going to be a bomb when it comes back, and it's not going to pollute or anything like that, and it could be collected properly. But if we were to send the raw materials, then it would make it very, very hard to do that. So it's so important that we create this lunar economy where people are working in these space stations, and they're working on the surface of the moon or the orbit of Mars, and a little bit everywhere. But I really recommend you all read the book Delta V and Mission Critical Mass, the sequel, because it does talk about these things being created, and it will give you a lot of insight and ideas. But there's other technologies too that are very promising to sending power on Earth, such as solar panel arrays that will be pushing solar energy into the Earth, which is much more concentrated, and then you can actually help out different nations. The Death Star, but you can use that technology to send solar to remote locations on Earth where they're having a crisis or anything like that. Just like we're using Starlink or OneWeb or whatnot to the Kepler project to send internet to remote areas of the Earth that are affected by things. I think we focus more our energy on saving the Earth rather than waging war, we would be doing so much better. But that's a topic for another day, right? So what are my big or amazing in your mind when, big ideas that you can all contribute. So we will be releasing United Nations. If you follow us on our social media and stuff like that, we can definitely give you guys some ideas and stuff like that. For an example, we have been working on this project called One for All. It's that's going to the surface of the moon, and we'll be recording touching the surface of the moon, so that you can actually feel remotely what the surface of the moon feels like when you're touching it. So now you can inspire millions of kids to touch the moon without actually going to the moon, and then using VR to really visualize with the cameras that are on the rover to feel like you're out there. So that will change, hopefully, the ideas of folks, but also ideas to be able to experiment the overview effect, so that we can change the mindset of people that are not open to the idea of space. So, I mean, there's so many different ideas. I think if you want multi-million-dollar ideas, I would look at how can you provide a system for sending it back to Earth, because that might be of interest to like companies like NASA or DARPA or different places, or how you're able to sustain the food chains out there. There's so many different type of things, but how are you able to sustain a community? Because if you have 1,000 people out there, you need almost a mini space city, almost like what you do in the mining towns in the north of Canada, where people are living and working there 12 hours a day, or mining rigs. You need to have all these own comforts, but we got to think about gravity. How are you going to be cooking food on the moon? How are we going to be playing sports on the moon, or different things like that? Because these guys are going to be living there for sometimes 3 to 6 months at a time. So they need all the modern amenity, but we got to factor in the gravity, which is a bigger problem. And now with all the private space stations, we're going to have opportunities to send technologies out there that could revolutionize life on Earth. And we're also using space to cure cancer by modifying stem cells and finding ways that we can change them in space. So they're actually going to be, if you're familiar with medical health resources, there's going to be tourism space station for medical tourism that can only be done in space. So how much of the black hole we know is true according to your knowledge about space? That is a good question for Shinol. I will have to make sure Shinol gets into the next call because I don't want to speculate too much on the black holes, but I just know that I would love to. When I'm 9-year-old, drive into a black hole, because if you watch the movie Interstellar and everything like that, theory right now is that we are surrounded by a black hole in the Milky Way. But again, I'm not an astrophysicist, so I can't help you as much as I wish I could on that. But I would say if you're interested, I can connect you with our CEO, Shinol, and he'll be happy to talk about astrophysics and black holes all day. Is there any more questions?
So I don't think that there are any more questions in the chat, right?
No. And don't be afraid to speak or anything like that. But again, if any of you are going to be in whereabouts is this challenge based out in India again? Sorry.
Sorry, Jason, can you please repeat it?
Whereabouts is this NASA Space Apps Challenge? You're based in India, right?
Yeah, we are based in India. In India, we are based at Surat, Gujarat. And
Gujarat.
This hackathon will be virtual. Like, they are not going to meet us in person.
Of course.
For the reason that people around the globe can be a part of it. And
that's amazing.
It will be easy for them, right?
And if you want, also, we will have a stream that we'll be sharing for free with astronauts and different people that they can tune in and listen to from people from Lockheed or Blue Origin that you can share in your socials. If you want to add to your program, you're more than welcome, and we'll support you in any ways. But that being said, like, as I said, our team's going to be, I believe, in New Delhi in early January, doing an event around the 4th to the 9th with about 10,000 youths at a university. I'll share more info when I'm allowed to, but we are also looking at going to Lucknow in Kerala in Bangalore area. But I will let you know, because this is my first time going to India, so I'm not the one arranging it, but I'm very, very eager to share all that with some of you that are able to meet, or just for a coffee and brainstorming and talking about space. So,
sure, Jason, we would like to welcome you to India.
Thank you, my friend. I'm very much happy to have got the opportunity to talk to y'all, and make sure to always keep dreaming and don't let any light diminish your light. Always, a quote that I love from the in 2000. If anyone watched the movie, he says, "I realized now that the circumstance of your birth did not define your future." Basically, I'm butchering it right now, but essentially, don't let where you're born define where you can go. Just be the main character in your story. Believe in yourself and know that you can achieve whatever you want. As you just have to believe in yourself. That's the most important thing I would say. And don't hesitate to reach out. We have free programs, and I'll share all that with your wonderful team afterwards. And we're more than happy if you have questions, if you want to send in our emails afterwards to share with our team or your team, or if you want to collaborate on challenges and stuff like that. But very happy to have been here today, and je vous remercie beaucoup. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I guess we have some question in chat. Someone has asked something.
So with so much debris on Leo, is it good to commercialize even more? So the debris are mainly around the Earth's orbit. I would say that it's a catch-22. In order to protect the Earth and to clean the Earth, we need to go to outer space. That's the only way we're going to sustain our economy without collapsing on each other and doing war, because the population is growing so much. And believe it or not, all the space technology that we're using to talk today are the results of these debris. But we need to be conscious. It's like deforestation. We needed trees to build houses, but we did not take care of them, so we didn't replant trees and stuff like that, which was chaotic. So I think we need to treat space the same way. We are doomed if we do not go to space. So we need to come up with policies and advise the policymakers. And if you're interested, there's a lot of space law folks in our groups that are working on policies such as that to find ways that we can present them to United Nations or Davos, on making sure that space is sustainable while creating opportunities. Because again, if we do not go out there, we're going to have so much, it's the next frontier. It's literally where we're going to thrive in the future, and it's going to create so much opportunities. You look at even diapers, you look at Velcro, you look at even car brakes and everything. Those are all results of space technologies that are helping out, and even breakthroughs in cancer and stuff like that. So, but yeah, thank you. I really appreciate. And the next generation. So from my understanding, there's the next generation ISS is not going to be coming from NASA right now. Lockheed Martin is working on one with NanoRacks. Blue Origin's working on Orbital Lab with Sierra Nevada, I believe. And then you have Voyager Space that are doing their own. I believe India is going to be doing their own also, and Japan's looking at doing something similar. There's actually going to be orbiting the surface of the orbit of the moon, because we have done constantly exploration in space for a number of years. So now the goal is to make sure